Want to be an engineer, that's the reason you want to be a technician, is to solve those problems as they come up.
We carefully took a step back, we troubleshot the problem, we got to an understanding of what the failure was. We put mitigation in place, and we've proven that that mitigation works, and we've tested the valve several times in preparation for this flight.
So for this flight, we are flying with a brand new service module, we are flying with entirely new valves, and we are also flying with an integrated direct purge system, which is going to keep our valves nice and dry and prevent that corrosion from forming.
So we ended up with a higher quality product in the end, which is fantastic because we've learned a lot from it.
We really took our time to get it right, because ultimately our
that happens in between.
we're going to launch, it's going to go great, we're going to come back home, and then we're on to the next one.
Go Boeing. That is my last thought. It's 2 words. Just go Boeing.
Here's a live look inside the Boeing Mission Control Center, where the launch team is working and monitoring pre-launch operations along with NASA astronauts.
Yeah, that's right, Dee. There's 2 NASA astronauts on console with this launch team today. They are Commander Barry Butch Wilmore and Mission Specialist Mike Fink. And there they are. They're joining us live from a room immediately next door to the BMCC because we didn't want to pull them too far away from their consoles. Hey, guys, thank you both for taking the time.
Hello? Oh my god. Hello? It's a live stream. We are back and we are live. Better than ever. We had some technical difficulties. Well, the first time we tried to live stream, I hate Extreme Lab. I'm gonna give you a bad rating. We are currently like 25 minutes until this thing lights its candle, and I will be very happy if it actually does light its candle, because I want it to actually light its candle, because it will be very important if it actually lights its candle, and why I keep saying lights its candle. Don't ask me. Hello Space, I've gone live like 14 minutes ago. I probably took away all my viewers. So if you're watching this right now, just like do it. Press it. Be it. Oh no. Thing is, you can't stop live playback, unfortunately, so this is like 100% live. Okay, so we're gonna share this with the internet, the holy god. Holy grail internet. I said it wrong. So go watch the star. Go watch Starliner launch its candle with me. Starliner wants its candle with me. Yay! You better watch it launch. You better watch it to the end. If you're watching it right now, you made a big mistake because you're going to watch it to the end no matter what. Go watch Starliner launch a candle with me. Less than 1 hour left. We've never been that close to OFT-2. We never actually have been. So this is a big surprise. Surprise. Wait, what? Boca Bingo? Flaps. Okay.
To talk about what was discussed. Brian, Will Ulrich gave that briefing, your fellow launch weather officer. Any updates there?
Yes, he did. Weather continues to look really good. As you mentioned, we just heard that brief from my colleague Will Ulrich, the lead launch weather officer on this mission, and weather continues to look very favorable as we head closer and closer to T0. So here's a little bit of a different look. Earlier we looked at satellite. Now let's take a live look at the radar. There's complex 41 and a 10 nautical mile ring around the pad that we're concerned about in terms of weather. And the one feature that you'll notice here, this squiggly line, that's actually the leading edge of the sea breeze pushing in, and that can often be a trigger for showers and thunderstorms in the summertime and late spring as we're in right now. But notice really nothing going on across central Florida, and that's all thanks to those high upper level cirrus clouds really limiting the stability in the atmosphere. So we remain go for weather and a 90% probability of remaining go as we head into T0. Guys, back to you.
Fantastic update. Thank you very much. Brian Cizik, launch weather officer with the 45th Space Wing. Now we're getting down to money time.
I know. The launch conductor is also talking to his team, and we want to carry that moment live for you.
Bravo has
So let's go back over to Lauren and Dylan at the Atlas Spaceflight Operations Center.
Yeah, Dee, we are waiting to hear the spacecraft poll as well as the launch vehicle poll, which will be coming up here shortly. But in the meantime, I want to tell you about some of the preps that have been going on with our team over the last month. Our team has been cycling through Starliner's isolation valves every few days since it was fueled up about 20 days ago, and that has continued while the spacecraft has been out at the launch complex. Just a few hours ago, they also cycled through one last time, meaning they made sure each valve opened and closed with no problem, and everything went well, and we are ready to fly. And they also just a few minutes ago were able to open the valves, and those will remain open through launch. So we are good to go on all of that.
Our teams have worked as well on the mission elapsed timer since OFT-1 to ensure that it operates nominally today and during future flights. And before we came on the air, the spacecraft and launch vehicle were synchronized with the mission elapsed time at L-3 hours. That will be done again during the terminal count, and the flight director will verify it once we get into ascent.
Now again, in just a few minutes, we are expecting the start.
Wow, they just said that they got the, oh my god, they got the valves to work. They got the valves to work. Oh my god. Amazing. Amazing work. Amazing. Starliner is launching in about 18 minutes now. I am very happy if this even lights its candle. I will be happy even if it lights its candle one bit. I will be happy. because like last year we had no progress. For last year, for before last year we had failure. So I really want this to. Okay, that's a beautiful view. That's just a beautiful view.
Flight STC MSR manager. This is Slick on launch shot. This time we'll
Also, I want to show you the fact that we are at 49 subscribers. Can somebody just make one more? Then we'll reach 50. Please, somebody subscribe. I need this. Because this is basically my life. So, like, please do whatever you can to like, share, subscribe, and share, and subscribe. Honestly, I just want you to subscribe and I just want you to share. Because it would help my channel a lot, and it would help it to grow. So, please. I was just playing Roblox before, but I cannot miss that Starliner will be launching in 17 minutes. Starliner will be launching in 17 minutes! Oh my god. Okay, go Starliner, go ULA, and go Boeing.
I feel like we've said the word pull a whole lot just now because it is this point in the countdown when a whole lot of pulls happen. Actually, Flight Director Mike Lammers pulled his team right before he reported into our spacecraft launch conductor, Louis Atchison, back in the BMCC. I can't help but smiling because we're all go right now. It is very quiet here in Mission Control. From here on out, console operators will be monitoring what's known as their Launch Commit Criteria, or LCCs, and their flight rules. Now, those are very long, very involved documents that basically just list the parameters that the spacecraft and the rocket have to be in to go to flight. That is including both redundant and primary systems. We want everything on Starliner working before we go fly today, and right now everything seems to be working, so we're in a good countdown right now.
That's right. There are just a few more milestones to get through before launch. One coming up in the next minute or so is the switching of Starliner from external to internal power. At that point, the spacecraft will be on battery power from there on out. But for the most part, the team here is just watching, waiting, and standing ready for launch. Now 15 minutes away. We'll send you back to Florida for now, but we will be back with you starting at liftoff, so stay tuned. Daryl?
All right, Brandy and Josh, thank you, and we'll see you then. NASA is relying on Boeing and several other providers to help sustain our permanent presence in space. Joining us now with more on that is NASA's Deputy Administrator and Space Shuttle astronaut, Pam Melroy. She's with me.
Yeah, Daryl, of course, Pam Melroy, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. This is a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you flew on 3 shuttle missions, I'm telling you, like you don't know, all to build the International Space Station. So with that in mind, how does it feel to be here today as NASA works to certify a second provider, meaning more trips, hopefully, to the International Space Station?
Oh, this is a great moment. You know, when we built the space station, we were really focused on all the amazing science that we could do and the innovation. And so now having another way to get there just gives us more resilience. It allows us to do even more science. And I think as a former shuttle astronaut, at a time when there were only 2 human spacecraft that were available in the entire world, and now we have more, and that means more people can go to space. And the innovation that happens at the space station is just so exciting to think about.
Yeah, I love how you light up when you talk about this, because tell me, I mean, it's so important to sustain this permanent presence in space, right?
It's incredibly important. We hope to go out into the solar system with humans to do science and to explore. And those are really long trips. So we really need to understand how to live and operate in space. The International Space Station is providing critical technologies that we are testing to go onto the moon and out to Mars and even beyond. Right. But in addition to that, what we've really found is that having a lab allows us to have more innovation. Yeah. So the shuttle only flew 5, 6, 7 times a year for about 10 days to 2 weeks at a time. Now we have more payloads, more experiments. We have commercial research going on the station. So that permanent presence allows us to make so much more progress.
Yeah. So as a former astronaut, as a former test pilot before that, can you give us some insight into how our NASA astronauts must be feeling today as they watch this uncrewed test flight?
Well, for test pilots, in God we trust, everyone else brings data. So what you see as a test pilot is the fascination with, okay, how's everything going to work? What we have learned through many years in the aviation side is that the engineers do their best, but there's always things that happen that you don't expect. And so really that's what the crew is looking for. They're looking for what worked, what we need to continue to work on. That is actually the meaning of a test flight. So as a tester, it's actually a great moment to see it come together.
Yeah, to get that opportunity.
Yes.
Perfect. Janet, thank you so much. Oh, Janet, Pam, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much. And we are L-minus 12 and a half minutes and counting until liftoff. And you can see behind us the rocket's on the pad. Atlas V Starliner is ready to go. We just heard that the launch team saying it's a great day, a beautiful day to go fly Starliner.
We are anticipating it.
It is a lot of anticipation out here for this one, and ULA and Boeing are finishing up their preparations for launch. And so we want to give you one other note. Once Starliner launches, the ISS, its destination, will be flying 257 statute miles over the North Atlantic.
Now let's head to the Atlas Space Flight Operations Center, where Lauren and Dylan will tell us what those teams are doing, and then they will count us down to liftoff.
Hey Dee, Starliner is just about ready to switch over to internal power, so we're waiting for that. And then also we are going to start seeing that crew access arm start to retract back, and we will see it move quite slowly today. But Dylan, if it needed to in case of an emergency, it could really get out of there pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's right, Lauren. And I just heard the command get given to start the crew access arm retraction. But that crew access arm rotates 120 degrees back to the crew access tower. It takes just under 2 minutes to do, but it can be redeployed in about 15 seconds in the event of an emergency. With no crew aboard, we won't see anything like that today.
All right. And we do want to let you know that after liftoff, Dylan will do the flight dynamics from here in the ASOC. Then Brandy and Josh will continue their commentary from Houston through ascent, spacecraft separation, and the orbital insertion burn. We also want to let you know today that we are updating our internal camera system on Starliner to have more live views inside in the future, but for today we'll be able to watch cameras on the rocket. We will also have live telemetry feeding back that will provide us with a real-time look at a spacecraft model that we will be able to take a look at and know exactly what's happening with the spacecraft when video is not possible as it moves through the dynamic phases of flight. So we are coming up on L-10, getting very close here, and we are now waiting to hear the next call, which will be to verify that Starliner is on internal power, and we were going to listen into the loops for just a few seconds.
L-10 minutes.
L-10.
Flight, verify CST 100 on internal power.
And Starliner
Verified.
is now on internal power.
So, Lauren, we should be hearing in just a minute that confirmation that the crew access arm is stowed and latched for launch.
Everything is looking good, and the silence is golden at the moment.
And we're about 38 seconds now away from the mission management poll that I spoke about earlier. And that will lead up to the terminal count status check coming up here at L-7
Flight
minutes.
verified ordnance configured for launch. Verified.
And Starliner's ordnance is configured for launch now. That basically means that the devices that initiate our separation events are ready to support both nominal and contingency operations that happen or could happen during the ascent profile.
L-8 minutes.
We are 8 minutes to launch.
All right, and we did hear on one of the other loops that mission management.
LC arm control. Go ahead. First step 260. Crew access arm stowed for launch. Roger.
And that call indicating that the crew access arm is now stowed and latched.
LC switch to ready position. All steps are complete prior to the status check.
So we're going to listen in now to Chief Launch Conductor Doug Lebo poll his team. Coming up in 10 seconds.
L-7 minutes. Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion. Go. Hydraulic. Go. Pneumatic. Go. LO2. Go. Water. Go. Sensor systems, propulsion. Go. Pneumatic. Go. LO2. Go. LH2.
Go.
Has gas. Go. Electrical systems, airborne.
Go.
Ground. Go. Facility. Go. RFFTS. Go. Flight control. Go. GCQ. Go. Op support. Go. Com. Go. Umbilicals. Go. Arm control. Go. ECS. Go. Redline monitor. Go. Quality. Go. Op safety manager. Go. ULA safety officer. Go. Vehicle system engineer. Go. Anomaly chief. Go. Range coordinator. Clear to proceed. Flight director. Houston flight is go. Launch director. You have permission to launch. Proceeding with the count. ALC, verify T0 is set for 22:54:47 Zulu. Verified. L-6 minutes.
And Lauren, you heard it there. It goes all the way across the board. The clocks are set, and we are ready to pick up the count on time for a liftoff here in just under 6 minutes. And Lauren, I'll just tell you that we have executed the status check many times. We've pulled for launches to the Sun, the Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Pluto, all manners of Earth orbits. Every mission and every countdown is unique and exciting, but the ULA team is absolutely thrilled to put Mighty Atlas back in service of human spaceflight.
And I know that that's something the astronauts have told me, that they feel so confident about eventually riding on top of an Atlas V rocket, because it's been all over the solar system. It's pretty amazing.
It's an amazing machine.
We should be hearing Starliner configured for terminal count here in just a few seconds.
L-5 minutes. LC flight. Starliner configured for terminal count. Roger.
There you go. Starliner is now configured for terminal count.
L-4 minutes and 45 seconds. All steps are complete prior to terminal count.
And Lauren, with that call, that all of the work is now complete, and the computers are going to take over the automated countdown at T-minus 4 minutes, coming up in here in just about 30 seconds.
L-4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Just a beautiful shot there.
On my mark, the time will be T-minus 4 minutes and counting. 3, 2, 1, mark. 3:55. Ground pyros enabled.
Ground system ordnance has been enabled.
Holy jeez. T-minus 3 minutes. Lateral motion and sheer. Come to think that Starliner will be bringing the next crew to the ISS from American soils. American soil. It will make history today, and I am alive to see it. It's a blessing to know that spaceflight exists. We are go forward.
Topping of liquid oxygen in the Atlas has now completed, and Atlas propellant tanks are pressurized for flight.
Minutes.
159.
Vehicle internal.
155.
Bot sequencer start.
150.
Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
Centaur hydrogen and oxygen
T
are now flight
minus
level, and
1 and
topping is
40,
being terminated.
40 seconds left on the clock.
Launch enabled.
Holy Jesus.
137.
Okay, this is my last time to go. Be right back.
FPS on.
$120.
OCU's armed.
SES count started. EDS ascent.
EDS armed and ready means the emergency detection system is now armed. It basically just means that if it detects something, it will trigger the launch abort system on Starliner and fire automatically. The spacecraft would push itself far up and away from the rocket. We're talking a mile up and a mile out in just a matter of seconds. We certainly don't expect to see that today.
40.
Atlas at flight press.
Holy Jesus name, holy. Okay, 28. 27. Oh my god, 26. 20. Okay, the countdown's gone.
All systems are go for liftoff.
Go Starliner. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Starliner is headed back to space on the shoulders of Atlas, powered by a workforce dedicated to its success.
It lit its candle. Oh my god. Liftoff of the Starliner launch vehicle on its way to the International Space Station. L plus 27 seconds on the clock as we have lifted off. The next event is currently maximum dynamic pressure. Oh my god. Why do I take science when I'm worried? Wow, I'm very surprised. Very surprised.
Right now, atmospheric forces are the highest Starliner Atlas will face during the uphill climb.
Mach 1, Atlas 5 and Starliner are now supersonic. Vehicle now throttling up.
Up next In about 20 seconds, Starliner's 2 solid rocket boosters will run out of fuel and burn out.
And we have burnout on both SRBs.
Good crew module forward link connection.
Humanity is throttling back up to full thrust.
Now that we passed the solid rocket booster burnout, you'll soon see those 2 solid rocket boosters separate from the vehicle.
Atlas V now weighs just 1/2 of what it did at launch, burning propellant at a rate of 2,800 pounds per second. And we have indication of SRB jettison.
Atlas continues to ascend using solely the RD-180 engine. That's about 850,000 pounds of thrust at sea level.
RD-180 is throttling down slightly as expected. Engine response looks good.
That's mind-blowing, man. That's mind-blowing. Okay, we have had solid booster separation. Now it's all on that RD-180 to get it to space. Looks amazing. Soon we're having a big... Oh my god. This rocket go into space. It lit it can. It's lit. It lit its candle. It's going to space. It's going to the ISS. Those flat earthers are going to be destroyed. We are launching. And this rocket is actually gonna go to space yet. Okay, yeah, it's amazing. I'm just gonna listen to mission control.
We have successful staging. Pre-start on the RL-10s. We have ignition on both RL-10s. Centaur's now gone to closed loop steering.
Just passed through several milestones. Teams here on the ground reporting that all are looking good. Ascent cover jettison there. That provided that aerodynamic structure to the top of Starliner, protected the docking equipment during ascent.
And now that Starliner and Centaur are free of the atmosphere, well into the vacuum of space, that aeroskirt has been jettisoned.
Now 6 minutes into today's launch, Starliner continuing to accelerate up the North American coast. Everything going smoothly so far. Starliner and Centaur have been taking through their ascent milestones right on track, including the
booster stage separation, Centaur ignition, and aeroskirt jettison. Number of status calls we'll be listening for in the next several minutes, but if all continues to go well, the next major milestone to watch out for is the main engine cutoff, when Starliner will be officially in space.
We heard a report from ULA's team. We had a little bit of an overperformance on the booster, but that's a good thing. Centaur is more than capable of adjusting on the fly in its closed-loop performance.
Centaur pressures are stable. Centaur looks good.
Flight control teams are also monitoring the performance of the sublimator on Starliner right now. The sublimator is what is used to control cabin temperatures going up to space and coming home. Normally we use the radiators on the service module, but those are not powered up until we get into orbit. We heard confirmation that St. John's abort zone is open. We pre-select these splashdown zones in the case of any needed aborts. The first one would be off the coast of St. John's, Nova Scotia. We just heard the flight dynamics officer report everything is pretty good.
Flight controllers here in Mission Control confirming that our main engine cutoff time is looking stable. It is going to be 11 minutes and 50 seconds into the flight. We are now 8 minutes and 50 seconds in, so that's still about 3 minutes to go until we hit that milestone.
Now, one of the next calls that we will hear is that the Shannon abort zone will be open. Now, you can see on your screens that Starliner is making its way up the North American coast, just starting to go into the Atlantic Ocean, northern Atlantic Ocean. We pre-plan our flight trajectories, so we would not abort a crew into the middle of the ocean. They'd be near enough to land for a quick and speedy recovery. So we're still in that St. John's abort zone. Expect to hear that Shannon open call coming.
And we just heard that call. Shannon now open, so Starliner could potentially make that abort landing off the coast of Ireland now if needed, but so far no reason to think it will be. Starliner currently 153 kilometers above the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and that's about 95 miles.
$60 seconds to MECO.
We are 11 minutes into today's flight. Centaur and Starliner are passing Mach 23, Mach 23.3 and counting. Altitude of just under 150 kilometers.
MECO's main engine cutoff when both of the dual engine Centaur RL-10s are scheduled to shut down. That again is coming up at 11 minutes and 50 seconds. About 5 seconds away now.
And we have MECO 1. Centaur engines have cut off. RCS is now at 100%
Main engine cut off,
SL.
right on time. Starliner is in space, but not done with the ascent milestones. Hearing in the room that it was a good main engine cutoff. The next milestone that we'll be looking for is launch vehicle separation, when Starliner will separate from Centaur booster and fly on its own. Even after that happens, we'll have about 15 minutes until our final major milestone in today's ascent, the orbital insertion burn that will raise the perigee, or low point of Starliner's orbit, out of the Earth's atmosphere. So stick with us, we're not done yet. Now 12 minutes and 30 seconds into today's flight.
We just heard our Atlas console position report a spacecraft separation for 1450 after launch.
Still about 2 minutes away.
Now, right now, ULA teams are confirming that Centaur is in a good configuration for separation, making sure that all of the pressures in the tanks are stable, and it will be able to conduct a proper disposal burn later. Flight control teams here in the room are moving to their insertion checklists.
"60 seconds to spacecraft sep. Centaur has now achieved its separation attitude."
Just under a minute now to go until the launch vehicle separation. The team here on the ground reporting that Starliner and Centaur are both ready for it in the right orientation and on a stable trajectory.
"30 seconds to Starliner separation."
Centaur is holding attitude for Starliner separation. 10 seconds to separation.
And we have confirmation of Starliner separation.
And Starliner is flying alone on its way to orbit.
Confirm LV separation.
Confirm good LV separation. Thanks, ULA, for a smooth ride to space, and thank you, Dylan, for your help on that ascent commentary.
That milestone behind us, the next one we'll be watching for is that orbital insertion burn. That is going to raise the perigee, or the low point of Starliner's orbit, out of the Earth's atmosphere, putting it in space for its full orbit. That's an important milestone to reach. It's going to be a 45-second burn. It'll change Starliner's velocity about 85 meters per second, or 190 miles per hour. And that's going to be coming up at the 31-minute mark in today's orbit. We're now just under 16 minutes into today's flight, so still about 15 minutes to go for that.
So there's a number of things that flight controllers are working on right now. They're transitioning Starliner from its launch mode over to its orbit mode. That includes powering up things like antennas, heaters, and those radiators that I mentioned earlier. We have good targeting for orbital insertion, a good forward command link, and a good MET epoch timer. Starliner making its way over the North Atlantic. Some other things going on right now. They are powering down some what's called demonstration flight instrumentation. We have some extra sensors on there for these demonstration flights. We have more of them on during power descent, but we don't need some of those right now, so flight controllers are powering some of those down. But some other things that are powering on include those propulsion line heaters. When in the vacuum of space and in the Earth's shadow, it gets quite cold, around negative 250 degrees, so we want to make sure those propulsion lines don't freeze. And the radiators are those little small silver discs you might be able to see on the side of the service module. If you remember your high school physics, the only way you can get rid of heat in a vacuum is through radiation. And so that sublimator will be powering down, and the radiators will be taking care of the heat management for the rest of the flight until we get ready to come home. Some things that you also might be seeing on your screen are some RCS jet activations. Those are just helping the target for that orbital insertion burn. And at about L plus 23, the team will transition Starliner into what's called fine pointing mode, or thrust align mode. So those jets that you see firing will hold a very specific attitude, which is exactly the attitude that we need for that orbital insertion burn. As Brandy mentioned earlier, we want that 85 meters per second of delta V to be going in exactly the right direction. And so the colors you're seeing on your screen,
Right. The colors you're seeing on the screen are indicating Starliner's track right now. Starliner is currently coming up on the coast of Europe and is about 224 miles, 139 miles, 224 kilometers above the Atlantic Ocean as it makes its way to the topmost or highest part of this orbit. It will be heading southeast over Europe and a little bit of Africa in the next few minutes as it begins its journey to start catching up with the International Space Station. Again, one of the major milestones coming up in preparation for that is the orbital insertion burn, coming up at the 31-minute mark into today's flight. We're now just over 19 minutes in.
Confirmation, we still have a good forward link command connection.
Getting a look at the number of teams who have been supporting today's launch all across the U.S., in particular here in Houston. If you hear of the flight director Mike Lammers and Rick Hempling, who's been assisting him, particularly with weather observations. And earlier you saw several of the teams who have been supporting from the launch site in Florida. We're now 21 minutes into today's flight. That's just about 10 minutes away from that orbital insertion burn that we're watching for. It's coming up at 31 minutes into the flight.
So we're about a minute away before the flight controllers put Starliner into its thrust align mode. Once again, just making sure that Starliner is pointed exactly at the right attitude for that orbital insertion burn. It's going to hold that attitude. It is otherwise very quiet on the flight control loops, which, as Lauren said earlier, silence is golden. Guidance Navigation Control Officer confirmed that Starliner is moving towards that OI attitude and will begin holding for orbital insertion.
With that, we're going to take a minute to pause and toss it back to Lauren in Florida, who I believe has a special guest there to talk with before they wrap up their coverage for the day. Lauren?
Hey, Brandy, thank you very much. Yes, joining me now is NASA astronaut Sunny Williams. Thank you so much for being here, Sunny.
Thanks. It's great to be here today.
And I know you've been following along. I've actually been able to see you from my perspective up here. I saw you in the moment of liftoff. You had your game face on. What was going through your mind at that moment?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Actually, leading up to this, I've been thinking about all the teams all over the country who are supporting this, you know, of course, here in Florida, but then back in Houston and Denver. It's just a huge team to get this thing off the ground and to get Starliner into flight. So at the moment of liftoff, I have to admit, though, I was thinking about what it's like to be sitting inside of there. So, you know, unabashed to just imagine what it will be like for the next launch when we have people riding in Starliner and this Atlas V being a human-rated rocket. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we heard the guys earlier saying they were jealous about Rosie.
Absolutely.
Well, just a few months ago, we were talking about how much confidence you have in the Atlas V rocket. And what made you say that?
Yeah, you know, we've been here a couple times watching launches, of course, not only for Starliner, for OFT the first time around, but also for other payloads that have gone up on the Atlas V. And, you know, they're pretty expensive. I told my mom at one point in time, if they're putting that expensive payload on top of that rocket, I feel pretty good about that. And I know the team, I've been here, talked to a lot of people who have worked on this, you know, this rocket, both here, Decatur, for example, as well in Denver. And I understand the engineering, or at least I tried to understand the engineering that goes into this complex machine, and you know they are A plus, you know, people doing just such a great job. So I know that their hearts are with us and ready to launch humans into space.
Well, we are waiting for that orbital insertion burn. It is a very important milestone for Starliner. What are you watching for here?
Yeah, we just want to make sure that, you know, that burn goes off without a flaw. We get circularized around the planet, and then we can all take a deep breath and let the spacecraft fly for a little bit and get ready for the rendezvous profile for the ISS. So I think that is really what we're waiting for, just to make sure it's going to happen correctly, which, you know, all indications are great. The spacecraft is working well.
Now, Sunny, I see you at the office quite often. I see the guys at the office quite often. You guys really have worked closely with the people who have their hands on this spacecraft day in and day out. What does that relationship mean to you?
It's huge. Like I mentioned, during the days leading up to this, I really was just thinking about the teams, all of the hard work that they've gone, you know, into getting the spacecraft ready to go, as well as getting this rocket ready to go. I know ULA has done a lot of work leading up to this after the last attempt, and this relationship is so key. I feel like I just want to stay committed to them to make sure that we get to the finish line with getting people to the International Space Station.
And so as soon as you guys finish up here tonight, then what happens? Where are you going next?
Oh, heading back to Houston. You know, Mission Control in Houston right now has the spacecraft, and we want to watch the rendezvous profile. You know, we're also, all three of us are sort of sitting in the shoes of, or in the seat of Rosie, you know, wondering what it's going to be like and what the spacecraft is going to see, how it's going to act in all of that rendezvous profile. So we'll be right there following along. So it's going to be an exciting 24 hours. I'm racing back. I'll be home tonight to be able to be in Mission Control in some capacity watching just like here, watching that rendezvous profile.
And can you tell us much about what would happen between now and crewed flight? What kind of training do you have to go through, and what kind of things are we going to be working on with Starliner?
Right. So this mission is going to prove, we're going to learn stuff. Not everything is going to go 100% correct, right? We learn stuff every time we take something to space. And so we're going to take those lessons learned from this mission and apply it to the next launch, which is the crewed flight test. But even beside for that, we have testing that we're ready to go do. We have the crew validation test, which is coming up this summer, where the three of us will be in the spacecraft, in the suits, in the seats, checking out the environmental control system, checking out the ergonomics, making sure we fit, we're ready to go. We also be working with the software folks, so looking at all the displays, making sure that all the displays tell us the right information and we understand it correctly, and we can work with mission control with that. So there's a lot, and then of course there's training with the control team. The control team, we've had some training with them, but leading up to this, they've been working on an uncrewed version, and now us little pains in the neck are going to be sitting in there talking back to them. So we're going to work through all that choreography of how we're going to work together in the spacecraft.
Well, Sunny, your time is valuable. I really appreciate you joining us here. I know you need to get back down to the console and follow along. So thank you for being here. And we are going to continue to follow along the loops here at the ASOC and wait for that orbital insertion burn, which is basically when Starliner will be up in orbit, hanging out until we're ready to start the rendezvous process and docking tomorrow. So for now, that's it for me and Sunny, and as well as Dylan Rice here in Florida. And we'll get you back over to Brandy and Josh in Houston.
Thanks so much, Lauren. And great to hear from Sunny. We're now just about 2 minutes away from the orbital insertion burn. That, again, is going to be a 45-second burn. It's going to raise the perigee or the low point of Starliner's orbit out of the Earth's atmosphere and get it into a stable orbit. And after that, we'll begin checking out the critical control systems before tomorrow's docking.
Minute and a half until the orbital insertion burn. Starliner is in the burn attitude. You might have seen earlier the nose of Starliner might have been pointed down towards the Earth, but that's actually the attitude that it needs to be, because as it orbits around the Earth, it will no longer be pointing at Earth. It will be pointing at that specific point in space that the orbital insertion burn will send us to. And once again, there'll be a lot of thruster activity. We want those 4 aft-facing OMAC engines, that's about 1,200 pounds of thrust each, to be pushing in exactly the right direction.
OMAC standing for Orbital Maneuvering and Attitude Control. They're going to fire for 45 seconds for this burn, changing Starliner's velocity by 85 meters per second, or 190 miles per hour. 30 seconds to go now until that burn ignites. Orbital insertion burn starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, this burn is going to last for 45 seconds. Teams here on the ground reporting 4 good orbital maneuvering and attitude control thrusters.
Now the colors you're seeing on those jets, or you were seeing on those jets, they indicate which integrated propulsion controller those jets are mapped to. We have 3 IPCs, integrated propulsion.
Well, that is orbital insertion. That is orbital insertion, and there we have it. Starliner is now officially in orbit. Congratulations to the Boeing and the ULA teams for making this possible. Well, I'm gonna have to end the live stream now. We're gonna see. It's gonna dock tomorrow, so go onto the Boeing social feeds, and let's find out if they actually do this. Thank you for watching, and as always, space and peace out. Thank you for watching.